Hi everyone, it's Emily. For this first easy Halloween DIY, I'll be making an air dry clay pumpkin tea light holder. So I started by shaping a ball of clay into the shape I wanted the pumpkin to be. And then I made an indent with a battery powered candle so I knew how big I wanted the hole to be. Next I took a clay tool with a round loop and scooped out the clay. And I did make the hole a little bit bigger than the candle because the clay will shrink while drying. And when I was almost done making the hole, I smoothed out the hole with my fingers, and I made it a little bit bigger so the candle would fit, and I also made sure not to make the sides too thin. Then I started making the ridges of the pumpkin with a toothpick by pushing it into the clay. And then I smoothed it out with my finger or with the toothpick so the line wouldn't be too sharp, and then I continued doing this all around the pumpkin until I was done. When I was done, I marked where I wanted the face of a jack-o'-lantern to be with a toothpick, and carved it out with a similar tool as earlier, but it was shaped as a triangle. And I also took the bottom of the tool to smooth out the inside of the face by pressing it down in the clay. Next, I made some lines on the side of the pumpkin with a toothpick so the pumpkin won't look too smooth. And I also smoothed out any areas that needed it with water and waited for the pumpkin to dry. Now once the clay was dry, I painted the pumpkin orange and the face yellow, and to give it more detail, I used a light brown color of paint to add shadows. The last thing I did was that I covered the pumpkin with Mod Podge, and once it was dry, I placed a battery-powered candle in it to finish this easy air-dry clay pumpkin tea light holder. And now for this next DIY, I'll be making a cauldron, so I started by painting a plastic jar black. And once the paint was dry, I made some drips using hot glue by starting at the top, and helped it move down where I wanted it to be. I did do this slowly so the plastic jar wouldn't melt, and I also added some layers after the bottom layer dry so it would have a more detailed look. And something else I did was that I let the glue drip down on its own, but you can do this however you would like. Now once the glue was dry, I painted the glue purple, but you can definitely use glue sticks that are already in the color that you want instead. After the paint was dry, I glued a piece of chain where I wanted it to be, and painted the glue once it was dry. When I was done, I put flowers in the jar, but you can use this cauldron for anything that you want. And now for this last DIY, I cut out a circle out of foam board, and then I glued a piece of twine on the back in the shape of a loop so it could hang on a wall. Next I cut out 2 black circles and 2 white ones out of felt, so then I could glue on 2 eyes on the foam board. Now when I was done with the eyes, I glued the end of some white yarn on the back of the foam board. And then I wrapped the yarn around the foam board in multiple directions, but I made sure not to cover the eyes so it would look like a mummy in the end. Once I was done wrapping the yarn, I glued the end of the yarn on the back, and then I glued some extra pieces of yarn in the spaces that needed it. And another thing I did was I glued on an orange bow to finish this cute mummy wall decoration idea. I hope you liked all of these DIYs. In the comments down below, let me know what you think about these DIYs. And if you like this video, subscribe to see more videos. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!